Well, hey, welcome to a valid answer, pre-recorded valid answer for this Sunday, because
we're not here right now.
We're not actually here right now. We're off somewhere else. But yeah, you're catching a valid answer with Scott and Marshall, a conservative capitalist pastor and a socialist liberal atheist.
Mm-hmm.
And here's where we duke it out in the idea in the what is it?
Ideas, the forum of ideas.
Forum of ideas. Yes, that's right. So we were. So you're gonna be not here right now. I'm not here, and in fact, we have a very special pre-recorded Monday that's gonna play tomorrow with a guest. So you don't want to miss that one. But we're here right now. What are we talking about? What are we gonna take on right now in this special edition?
I'm gonna talk to a lot of people, especially some of my friends who are out there who like to post those inspirational memes on Facebook. The whole "you can do it" kind of memes. Mm-hmm. You know, it's never your successful friends that post those kind of memes. I'm joking. Actually, I have a lot of successful friends, and they do post inspirational memes.
I'm sorry, how do you define success?
Right, you know?
No, I was asking.
I think it's pretty subjective.
Exactly.
But, you know, I would imagine it would mean having some level of economic security more often than not.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's how most people would define success. But anyway... I have this nasty habit that I need to break myself of, okay? My friends will post memes, and the meme will be something like, everybody has the same 24 hours in a day. How you spend them makes the difference between whether you are rich or poor, okay? No, on face, that sounds, oh, yeah, you're right, you know? But it's actually not true in practice. Nobody has the same 24 hours.
Why is this a pet peeve for you?
Well, because... to me, I am a believer that the system is responsible.
But why are these memes a pet peeve?
Because for me, the memes are a form of soft victim blaming.
Memes in general.
Memes in general?
Because you use memes. You're
the one who doesn't like memes.
Right. So suddenly you like memes except the ones that disagree with you. Then those are bad.
Well, of course, right?
So that's called inconsistency.
Hypocrisy, right?
Exactly.
I'm not critiquing the meme because it's a meme. I'm critiquing the premise of the meme.
Okay.
Okay? So to me, we talked about this last night. I actually think memes are somewhat valid. You think they're definitely less valid. Yeah. I certainly don't think they represent sound logical arguments hardly ever.
No.
But memes are sort of a means to an end, whether we like it or not. They are sort of the handbills or pamphlets of the age of the Enlightenment. They are.
They're propaganda, which is always bad.
Okay, and they are.
Are you
propaganda.
still sick today?
A little bit.
Okay, I'll leave that there.
Just keep it handy, just in case. You know, I'd hate to.
Yeah.
Right. You know, in the middle of a sentence, you know, poor Scott's just
got to blow my nose.
He's going to turn into a zombie.
No.
You know, and then he's going to have to seek out brains. And who do you think he's going to eat first?
Not him.
Oh.
Not enough.
Oh, wow. I set myself up for that.
You did. That was like a slow pitch right there, and I just went.
Oh, wow, it's a home run?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically my issue is this. It's a form of victim blaming because you're transferring responsibility for a person's poverty or social or economic situation to the individual when I think there's a lot of stuff inherent in the system that is also to blame. Now, I'm going to throw you a bone here. I think the individual has a lot of power. I think if you are an individual, if you make all the right choices and you have a little bit of luck, you can escape poverty. You can move yourself up the ranks.
It's less about luck than you think.
But it's super, super hard.
Oh, it's hard, yeah.
And how hard is it? Well, according to MIT, escaping poverty requires almost 20 years with nearly nothing going wrong. This is MIT economist Peter Timmon, who argues that economic inequality results in two distinct classes, and only one of them has any power.
And anybody can do it in less than 7.
Well, I'm not going to argue with an MIT economist here. I'll post the link though, people can.
It happens if you make the sacrifice. It can be done if you follow a certain pattern. It can be done in less than 7 years.
Okay, but you also require some luck there, right?
No.
It
requires self-sacrifice. and good choices. Less than 7 years happens all the time. We're teaching it literally tonight at a class called Financial Peace University. It was pioneered by Dave Ramsey. And I personally know 2 people who are between 30 and 35 who are debt free. Debt free. That is house paid off, cars paid off, college saved for their kids in their 30s because they followed this step. And in less than 7 years, they became completely debt free. It's living off of beans and rice and beans for 3 or 4 years of just making this really tight self-sacrifice. Say we are going to yeah, exactly. That is the catchphrase of the entire thing, which is live like no one else right now so that you can live like no one else in the future. And you make that sacrifice now. Anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. These are average middle-class people. One of them works for us. So another one was a business owner, but you don't have to be a business owner.
Average middle-class people.
Average middle-class people who followed these steps. There's a series of steps. You follow them. They're difficult to do. It's difficult decisions. Yeah. You have to make sacrifices, but if you're not willing to make those sacrifices, if you're not willing to live that way now, you have no excuse for why you're not going to live successful, debt-free, financially free in the future. You will be bound to them, but you can get out of it. You have to choose, and it's simply choice. Simply choice. A choice that I have not made because I don't have the fortitude to not go without what I don't want. That's my choice. I know that's my choice. I know where I could be, but it's not this. Why blame it's so easy to say, well, the system's keeping me down. And no. Well, I know that I have not made smart choices. I know that I have not made the right choices. I know that it is within my grasp if I am willing to make that sacrifice to get to that point of living. I'm just too comfortable.
And you know what, Scott? I agree with you. I'm convinced. I really think that you and I have access to this. If we follow sort of Ramsey's scorched earth policy and we don't buy any luxuries and we spend 5 or 7 years or however long it takes and we live on beans and rice. Now, I don't like beans, so I guess extra rice for me.
Top
Tortillas,
ramen or whatever.
top ramen, right? Oh, my goodness. Really? And we do that. I think it's possible for you and I to break out of debt and achieve a level of prosperity that is usually reserved for people who are much wealthier than we are.
Imagine what you're making right now. Same job. Nothing changes. Same job, same, except you're not making a house payment. You're not making a car payment. You're not paying credit card debt.
Yeah, it's a lot of disposable income
how much income you suddenly have. With a few years, relatively speaking, a few years of self-sacrifice. That's all choice. There is no system holding you down. It's your choice.
But what if you're poor? What if you're one of those people who's so poor that when you lose a tire on your car, which can cost anywhere from $60 for the cheapest used tire to maybe $200 for a good new tire, one tire, and that's not including labor, $200 to put a new tire on your car. What do you do when that's a life-changing disaster? Because I think you know plenty of poor people. I know plenty of poor people who end up having a very hard time getting to work, and sometimes they lose jobs because their transportation gives out. And we don't live in a city, a community that's very mass transit friendly. It's a sprawling community, so it's hard for people sometimes to get from place to place. If you're in a city like San Francisco, let's say, which has good mass transit, you don't even need a car. I wouldn't want a car if I lived there. But
that's one thing I enjoy when I go on vacation in San Francisco. I just park the car and we just either walk
exactly. Smart. Yeah. But at a minimum, you're going to need at a minimum a bike or a bus pass or something. But then if you ride the bus or you ride the bike, all of a sudden your commute goes from 15 minutes to at least an hour.
Then you get up earlier. My dad had a day job, got a bike, and rode it to Cal State from Virginia Avenue and Oswell. Rode his bike to Cal State to take classes at Cal State for where he was working to continue his education.
Okay, but
you make the freaking sacrifice. You choose to do the right thing.
It's easier said than done, right?
But it's done. So get up off your butt and do it.
But people
get up off your butt and do it.
They have various family obligations. I don't know what your dad's family obligations were, but different people have different family obligations.
Then work it out the way you have to. But it's not somebody else's fault. As long as you keep throwing it on somebody else, then you don't have to fix it.
But
Somebody else's fault.
But Scott, as long as you blame the victims, then
They're not victims. They are not victims.
We don't start addressing the systematic inequality inherent in
They are not victims. It is not systematic inequality. It's your choice. Your choice. Make good choices. Do the right thing. Make the sacrifice. Get up off your butt and go do it. That's all that it is.
Well,
that's all that it is.
Well, first of all, before I start just dropping raw facts on you, like a B-52 bomber of truth, the first thing I'm going to ask you is this. Do you believe our government is corrupt?
Yeah.
Okay. In what way do you believe the government is corrupt?
I think you and I both agree that there's too much of politicians doing things for kickbacks.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever that is, kickbacks and not representing the
So who has
constituent.
the power to shape the system of laws and government under which we live? Who really has the strings of power? Who's manipulating those strings of power? Do you think it's the poor people in America?
No.
Do you think it's the middle class?
Kind of.
Do you think it's the wealthy?
There's enough of them to put leverage.
Do you think it's the wealthy?
More likely.
How about big business?
Probably.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think then that when these people craft legislation, when they shape or reshape the systems first established by the founding fathers or established by various administrations since, is it not reasonable to imagine that they shape those systems for the purpose of profit and gain rather than for the purpose of the well-being of all American citizens?
You only get to make that argument if you show me one thing. I want you to show me a piece of law that prevents somebody from going to work. Show me a piece of law that says, no, you have to stay in this job and you cannot go get another job. No, you have to you don't have a choice. You have to work where we tell you to work.
Okay.
You cannot quit your job. You show me a law that says that you cannot get up off your feet on your own. You show me a law that holds somebody back, literally a law that says you cannot do this. You cannot quit your job. You cannot change your job. You cannot get a second job. You cannot, sell your car and get a bicycle to save money. Show me laws that say you cannot do those things. Laws.
Well, there are no hire and no poach rules, for example, in the fast food industry.
Laws.
I know you want a law, but let's talk
No,
about
you were talking about politicians and lawmakers and who holds the power. Show me a law.
But if it is
law.
legal to follow a policy that has the same effect as law.
Nope, show me a law. You are talking about politicians and you were talking about lawmakers. Show me a law.
Okay.
Show me a law that prevents somebody from leaving their job and going to get another job.
Well, I suppose I could show you minimum wage law. Because at that point, it doesn't matter which job you work because you're going to get the same low minimum wage.
Yeah, you make yourself better.
Okay, and so when you have a low wage, that limits your opportunities organically. Mm-hmm. We have, under capitalism in the United States, we have a form of neo-feudalism where instead of serfs being bound to the land, we have serfs who are bound to debt.
There's no law. You're comparing a time when there were actual laws by kings that said you cannot go past this.
Right.
To a time where, show me that law. Show me that law.
It's changed.
Show me that law.
To something
nope.
different.
Show me the law.
Minimum wage law. That's my answer. Minimum wage law keeps you in a state of debt servitude, wage slavery, as it is often called by activists.
You can get out of it. You can get out of it. Your choices.
But how?
Your choices.
How?
I just talked to you about that.
Because now when we start looking at the stats, we start looking at the inequality, wage inequality. For example, women still make 80% what men make for the same exact work. 80%. That's structural inequality right there. Child poverty.
Then why don't companies
Do you know that Greece has less child poverty than the United States?
Why don't companies just hire women then if it's cheaper? If that really is true. If that really is here's a man, here's a woman, well then heck, we will hire a woman because it's cheaper.
Well,
why doesn't that happen? Why isn't that the effect of what you're saying?
Probably because women don't have access to the same level of education historically in the United States.
So there's an actual logical reason.
Well, of course there's going to be a logical reason.
Okay, so it's not just, oh, you're a woman? Sorry, we're only going to pay you 80%.
But it's structural inequality. It's not that, it's the holdover of sexism and prejudice from the ages past. And I would like to think that the graph is changing, and it is. I'm showing him a graph right now on gender pay gaps. It shows in 1979, women made about 63% or 62% of what men made. And then around 2005, it plateaued and remains at 80%. So women should make the same amount of money that a man makes for doing the same work.
Anybody should make the same amount of money for doing the same work, period.
Exactly. Okay, so we totally agree on
that.
Yeah. But
I'm saying there's probably more factors. There's probably more factors than simply, oh, they're a woman, I'm going to pay them less.
Well, there are factors, okay? And those are structural factors.
No.
This is the way our society is set up. And when you put the blame on the individual, you put the blame on the woman. You put the blame on the individual woman, for example, you're essentially victim blaming a woman for growing up and working.
I'm not going to let you call them victims. They're not
working
victims.
In a system that she had no other choice but to work in. So these are aggregated from national statistics. So you can go from job to job, place to place, but guess what? Odds are you're still going to get 80% of what your male counterparts
If you keep making the same dumb decisions, then yeah, make better decisions.
These are not necessarily dumb women.
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying
this is sexism. This is structural inequality.
Then what do you say about me? Because I'm making the same dumb decisions.
What are you doing, Scott?
That's what I'm saying. I have not done what Financial Peace University has said. I have not gone through that myself. I know that I'm making a dumb decision, but I know it's a dumb decision. I'm just still on the average being comfortable enough to not have to feel like I need to do that. But it's my decision. It is not the system keeping me down. There's nobody else. Then these are people who are smart people. I'm a smart person, but they're still making dumb decisions. I know that there are dumb decisions that I make, and I could make better decisions, and I could get out of this financial situation. I'm not in a bad financial situation, but I'm not in a great financial situation. But it's my choice. It's my choice if I want to make the sacrifice to take the next level up. There always has to be sacrifice to take the next level up. There's nothing that's owed you the next level up. You make the sacrifice and you take the next level up. Nobody owes that to you.
Do you consider yourself to be a minority? Are you a minority?
Who cares?
I do.
Who cares?
Are you a minority? Are you white? Are you Caucasian?
I'm 50% Hispanic. So you call my dad was 100% Mexican. My mom was French Canadian. So what do you call me? Why does it matter?
Oh, French Canadian. Oh,
why? No, but why does it matter? Why do we still care?
Okay.
So why do we still care?
You're a white man, middle class.
Sure.
You're a homeowner.
I'm 50% Hispanic, but you're going to call me a white man. That the majority.
You're close enough.
Close enough. So close,
especially for California.
So because my dad chose to marry a white woman, suddenly all the sacrifice of all his ancestors from Mexico doesn't count.
None
of that counts.
Me here, okay. So what I'm trying to say, Scott, is for people like you and I, we face.
So what? I'm sorry. Hold on.
We face fewer challenges.
So as long as a black man marries a white woman, then their kids are white now.
Race follows the father according to tradition in the United States.
I said my dad was Hispanic. So a black man marries a white woman, now their kids are white. They're privileged. That's your argument. They're now privileged and they're white.
Who I didn't catch your
I said
your
a black
example.
Man marries a white woman, now their kids are white and privileged. Yes?
No, they would be black. They're technically half and half.
So they're kids so now their kids marry a white that kid marries a white woman. Now they're white and they're privileged? When does privilege start in your world? When is somebody white enough to now be privileged?
Well, generally it's based more on perception. Because there's no way.
So it's subjective. It's all subjective. So you can just look at somebody and say, "Oh, you're white. You're privileged. You don't deserve help." You don't know. You don't have to know any. You don't have to know anything about them. You don't have to know anything about them. You don't have to know their history. You don't have to know what struggles their family went to. You can just look at them and say, "Oh, you're white. You're privileged." That's your world, where it matters.
How do you think people make snap decisions about one another all the time?
We shouldn't. It should not matter.
But it's how people operate.
But let's make it to where it doesn't matter. Stop.
I would love that. I would agree with that.
But you're perpetuating the problem you're perpetuating the problem by saying, "Oh, so you're white, so you're privileged. Oh, you have some dark skin. You this. Okay, so now we're going to help you. We're going to base it on race." Stop the whole Martin Luther King thing is I have a dream when it doesn't matter. It's the content of your character. Where the color of the skin no longer matters, but you're judging the content of your character. What happened to that? You don't.
Dr. King was also quite a socialist.
I'm not even talking about that.
He had many things to say about economic inequality.
That's fine, but what I'm saying is, what I'm talking about right now,
race-based inequality and so on.
And we're still continuing that because we care whether or not. What's the percentage of that person's blackness? What's the percentage of that person's ethnicity? Okay, we're going to make decisions based on that. That makes no sense whatsoever. It should not matter.
How do you propose?
Seriously, how dare you call me white?
Okay, I apologize if I've called you by the wrong race.
And how dare you call anybody
Hispanic?
How dare you call?
That's why I asked you.
How dare you call me Hispanic?
How do you want to identify someone?
I don't care. You shouldn't either. Why does it matter to you? Okay. Why does it matter to you if I'm white? Why does it matter to you if I'm Hispanic? Why does it matter to you? You're the one bringing it up. Why does it matter to you?
Here's what matters, okay? Race still matters in our society.
It should not have to. It should not have to.
I agree with you.
You keep perpetuating it, though.
I can't agree any harder with you than I am now.
Except by your actions. Your actions are doing the exact opposite.
But the problem is you have to be blind to think we do not live in a system where racial inequality is still a thing. Racial inequality is a massive thing.
It will continue to be a massive thing as long as we keep following your example. As long as we keep caring about how black are you, how Hispanic are you, how this are you, how much is this of you.
White Americans. 1/10. African Americans own approximately 1/10 of the wealth of white Americans. That's in 2016.
And they're 12% of the population.
The black-white wealth gap has not recovered.
They're 12% of the population.
It shouldn't matter if they're 1% of the population or 100%. It doesn't matter.
Don't those equal, though? If there's this much money.
They own approximately 1/10. It's per capita.
Oh, okay. You didn't say that.
The black-white wealth gap has not recovered since the Great Recession in 1927. The median wealth of blacks was nearly 14% that of whites, although black wealth increased at a faster rate than white wealth in 2016. Blacks still own less than 10% of whites' wealth at the median. It's almost that's very complex there. Black households.
You're trying to say, hold on, I want to understand. You're trying to say that the average white person has 10 times the wealth of the average black person. Is that
no? It doesn't say 10. It's 10% of whites' wealth at the median. So
a white person has 9 times more than them. What exactly is that trying to say?
African Americans own approximately 1/10 of the wealth of white Americans. So when you add up all of your wealth, your house, your car, your savings, your checking account, African Americans have, on average, 10% of what Americans have, white Americans.
Oh,
Oops,
whoa.
White Americans. But
I'd say Freudian slip, but that wasn't sexually related. So
well, and then here, African Americans face systematic challenges in narrowing the wealth gap with whites. The wealth gap persists regardless of households' education, marital status, age, or income. That's key, I think. The fact that it persists regardless of educational, marital status, age, or income. And then it has an example, and I don't want to start just reading blocks of text here. My thing is this, Scott. You and I largely agree in the main. We want equal opportunity for all people. We want all people to be successful, and we want all people to take responsibility for where they are at and to make good choices to maximize their odds of success. But
period.
No, there's not a period, though, because
what
I'm trying to say is there are obviously systematic elements in our society
that you can get over,
that you are letting people off the hook, allowing them to perpetuate when you blame the individual, when you say the individual is solely responsible for their condition.
Because you are.
People are sometimes born into conditions. I mean, nobody chooses the condition to which they are born. Mm-hmm. And if you are born into an impoverished and disenfranchised condition, obviously, logically, your ability to escape that condition is going to be much harder than for a person who's born into a privileged condition.
But you can do it. I believe in you.
Can you?
You can do it.
Can you?
Yeah.
Can you really?
You can do it.
With 1/10 of the wealth, you think you can do it?
You can do it.
Maybe 10% can do it, but not nearly as many as people who are born into a more privileged position. And that's the point. We have to break down that system. So go earn
yourself some privilege. I am here on 3 generations of immigrants who earned my privilege.
I don't think it should take that long. I think
That's right. That's right. He's a socialist. It should just be given to you.
No, I think equity should be given to you, and you build from that. Then you're on your own. Look, it's just like running a race. It's just like running a race, right?
It's a mentality.
If you get to start the race in the middle, and I have to start the race at the starting line, it's far more likely that you're going to win and finish the race well before I do.
The problem,
that's not fair.
There isn't a finish line. That's the problem. There isn't a finish line.
Well,
there is no finish line.
Regardless if the race lasts till infinity, my ability to catch up with you is seriously impaired.
Yes. So you train, you practice, you get up there, you set up your next generation to be better than what you had.
But wouldn't it be better if
it was just given to you? Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah, if we all have the same starting position, I think that would be much better.
So what you have to do is you have to get all those people who have earned all that privilege. Somebody has earned their privilege to start up there. Somebody generations behind them worked to put them there. You're talking about my kids right now who started way up there because of the generations of privilege. You want to hold them back because they are too far ahead of these people. That is not fair to them. That is not fair to generations of people who sacrifice for themselves to earn that privilege to where my kids are starting halfway up the race.
Okay. So
why do you want to pull them back?
So how is it fair to a person whose ancestors were slaves and whose then for another century their ancestors were forced to suffer under segregation? And then for the last 50 years to continue to suffer under discriminatory policies. And so
name the laws.
Mass incarceration.
Name the laws.
No, Scott. No.
Yes, name the laws that's holding them back.
You're asking me to name laws, but you're ignoring reality. You're ignoring how humans think and operate. You're ignoring systemic inequality. You're ignoring history.
Individuals who are making bad decisions. Individuals who are making bad decisions.
How about the legalization of slavery? That's a law for you.
Yeah, which is no longer here.
Okay, but the after effects of that persist.
It's been 100 years.
You're talking about how unfair it would be to hold somebody back so that these folks can catch up.
Yeah.
Well, how unfair is it to allow the race to continue when it's inherently unfair?
It is not inherently unfair.
My proposal is not necessarily to hold people so that that everybody catches up. It's to bring everybody to the front. I'm not going to hold anybody back necessarily. There is enough wealth.
So nice.
Well, there is enough wealth in this nation and in this world for everybody to have enough. I don't expect everybody to run the race in a perfect line. Some people are going to naturally be faster than
Poverty
others.
is a mindset. You hand a person who has a poor mindset all the resources you want and it's gone.
What other mindset are you going to have if you're born into poverty? You're not going to have a million. How do you get a millionaire's mindset when you are born and raised in poverty? How do you cultivate that mindset? You know the marshmallow experiment, the Stanford marshmallow experiment, right?
Yeah.
The poor kids ate the marshmallow immediately rather than waiting for a second marshmallow. They had to wait 5 minutes to get a second marshmallow. They still ate it immediately. Why? Because poor people are afraid.
Because they were 7 years old.
Programmed fear. Well, no, because kids from better class, higher class households waited and got the second marshmallow.
So they were taught better.
Right. Exactly. It's conditioning.
Okay.
But when you're poor, you are naturally conditioned to consume whatever you have
right away. So you will grow up better. You will make better decisions, and then your children will make better decisions.
We have to create a situation. We have to accelerate the process. That's what I want to do.
To artificially accelerate the process is to cause more problems. If this person has a poor mindset and you just throw resources at them, those resources are wasted.
How can you cause more problems than exist in the status quo? The status quo is the injustice. By addressing it, even if we fail, even if we're only partially successful, it's still an improvement upon the status quo.
It makes it worse.
How?
You're not training people to fish.
How does it make it worse to create more equity in society?
Because you're not training them how to use the equity. You're not training them how.
That would be part of the package.
No, it's not. That's never part of the package. You train them first before you put resources. You're a business owner, so you're willing to hire somebody off the street and give them all the resources to do the job without training them?
No, you have to train.
Okay, so you train before the resources,
But
yes?
education
You
is
train
part of
before
socialism.
you train before the resources, yes?
Education is key to socialism.
I'm asking you a question. You train before you give them the resources, yes? Or do you give them the resources first?
Well, it depends. There may be some resources you issue on day one, such as safety equipment, a uniform, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And then other things such as sophisticated tools to actually do the job you might issue later after training has been completed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's going to be, a unique situation for different people. But ultimately, yes, I agree that education is part of it.
And if they fail with the first resources you give them?
Then you have to find a way to remediate, because we're not going to just write people off. I'm not going to do what capitalism does and allow to have this bottomless
That
pit.
any of
literally.
them can get out. Any of them can get out.
How does a person get out of that pit, though? What if you have a prison sentence? What if you've been sent to prison? What if you, as a young man, as a teenager perhaps, you did a serious crime, and now you've done a lot of time in prison, and now you're middle-aged, and you're out, and you have no education, and you have no job skills, and all you know is prison life? How does that person escape poverty? I don't think they can.
Yes, they can. They have. They find God in prison. They get training in prison. Their life changes. They come out and they choose it. I'm not going to make that mistake anymore. It's in their hands. It's in their hands to do that. If they're going to, or they can just walk out and not learn anything from that experience and just go be a criminal again, then they should go back to prison.
Well, I agree with that. But what I'm saying is it's very hard.
Yes, it's hard. Life is hard.
It's harder for some than for others.
Then get better.
And it should only be hard because of your choices. It should not be hard because of
And
the
it
color
is
of your
only
skin,
hard because of your choices.
or your gender,
And
or
it's
your
not.
sex, or your religious
It's
identity,
not.
or
It's
any
your
of these other
choices.
things.
In this day and age, it's your choices. There are no laws holding you back.
Do you think 9 out of 10 African Americans are choosing to be poor?
They're choosing not to make the sacrifice, just like I'm choosing not to make the proper sacrifice to be as successful as I can be. Yes, because I'm in that group as well. I know I'm making bad choices in certain areas that are keeping me held back from being as successful as I could be. I'm making bad choices. Yes, they're making bad choices too. Make better choices. It's up to you. It's up to you. Stop blaming everybody else. Stop being a victim. I'm such a victim. Everybody's holding me back. I'm not a victim. But I'm not as successful as I could be, but it's not because I'm a victim of anybody. It's because of my choices. My choices alone.
You talk about eating beans and rice. What does a person who already eats beans and rice cut down to?
Show me them.
Well, we've got African Americans who own 10% of the wealth of white Americans.
Mm-hmm.
There probably a lot of people eat beans and rice. They already have that diet because they're poor.
Mm-hmm.
They come to your food banks. You see them more often than I do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what should they do? They're not middle class.
You would be surprised.
Tell me. Educate me.
You should come here on one of the Wednesday mornings and look at the cars in the parking lot of the people coming and getting food. In this country, there is not poor like there is in the rest of the world.
Well,
in
no,
this country,
we don't know absolute poverty here, but we have a lot of relative poverty.
Relative, yeah. In this country, there are sacrifices anybody can make to take the small steps. That's what Dave Ramsey calls them, baby steps. You take a baby step. One little thing. Anybody can do this baby step. Just get that baby step done. It's possible within the realm of anybody here. They can do it. Then if you choose to, if you want to, you can do it. If you're wanting to be homeless and you don't want to follow the rules, that's your problem. But if you are wanting to do this, you can do it. Take that baby step, however long it takes. Then you get there. Cool. Now you're doing that. Now do this baby step. It's a baby step. It's possible to do it. Some people have done it in 5 to 7 years. Maybe it'll take you 10 to 12. But most people do it in 5 to 7 years, and they can get out of it. They can do it. It is within their power. It requires sacrifice. It requires good decisions. It requires those things to stop being a victim.
Well, I agree, Scott. So, certainly you need the education. You need the financial education, even if you're poor. And is the program free? Or does there
no. It costs.
What does it cost?
I think that if you take the full, it's like a 9-week course or something like that. I think it's like $200.
Wow.
The idea, and that's on purpose. The idea is if you don't invest in it, you don't put worth in it and you don't put value in it.
Well, $200 might be the difference between, mini meals or someone's medication or rent.
Mm-hmm.
How many poor people attend these?
I don't know.
Okay. So I agree, though, that this education needs to be made available to people and people should avail themselves of it, even if it is $200. However,
the people that went through
it be better?
The people that one of the people who are now out of it, who are completely debt free, they went into the program because their boss, who was their friend, said, you need to go to this program and I'm going to pay for it for you. So you go.
No, now you're talking.
But that was a personal choice of somebody saying, I'm going to invest in you. Mm-hmm. When it's a personal choice, it works. When you make
see how powerful that is?
Yes. But when you make it a government thing, it's not the same. It's an entitlement.
Well, I'm not talking about government anything here right now.
Yes.
What I'm talking about is when we invest in our working class, it pays dividends.
No, there's a difference. There's a difference.
And you can invest in the working class by providing them with education. There's no reason why the working class can't go out
There's
and
a specific difference. When it is a person giving it to you, it is a relationship. It is a friendship. It is a gift. There is something appreciated there. When it's supplied,
it's solidarity.
When it's supplied by the government, it's a privilege. It's an expectation. That can be squandered. There's a difference in how you see it coming to you. You see it like, well, that should be.
But why not? Why not provide both the education and increased wages? Why don't we do things to address the inequality in the system?
Good question.
Why not?
Why aren't I following that policy right now, following that financial piece? Why am I not following that?
Probably because you lack the education at this point.
I know exactly what it is. I already told you why. Mm-hmm. Why is it?
You've chosen not to follow it.
Why?
Probably because you're wealthy enough to get away with.
I'm comfortable.
Yeah, you're comfortable.
So that's why you don't just give people stuff, because they can still be comfortable enough to not have to make the hard choices. Comfort keeps us where we're at. Comfort, that is why a mother eagle starts taking all the soft feathers out so that it stops being comfortable in the nest and the baby's like, I don't want to be here anymore. Mm-hmm. Comfort keeps us where we're at. Comfort is the biggest thing that holds us back.
What's wrong with the working class being comfortable? What's wrong with them having decent housing? What's wrong with them having some time off? What's wrong with them having health care? What's wrong with them getting a vacation?
Nothing if you want to stay there.
And what's wrong? Because we're always going to need working class people. We're going to need people to make burgers and deliver pizzas and clean things. Mm-hmm. These people are important. They are a linchpin of our modern society. We need these people, and I think they deserve. And
there's some people who enjoy doing that kind of work,
and that's fine.
And that's fine.
Great.
That's what we want. If that's what you want to do, that's fine.
And if they choose to do something else,
that's
a
low-paying job. So you're taking the low pay. That's what you're choosing. You're choosing a field that doesn't pay well. And now you want to say, I want to choose this field that doesn't pay well, but I still want you to pay me well. No, you make a better choice and make a different choice to follow something that does pay well. That's your choice. This is what this pays. If you don't want to make this much money, then you go seek out something that pays more. That's your choice.
I don't have a big issue with that, but the pay that you do receive should be the wages of a decent living.
To keep you comfortable, to stay where you're at.
If that's your choice, so not everyone's going to make that choice. Some people, like certainly you and I both, we had those types of jobs when we were young, and we said we don't want to live at this pay grade.
But I'm saying even people like us are deciding to be comfortable where we're at.
And that's okay too.
Then that's nobody's fault.
And that's okay. It's okay for us to say, you know what, middle class is great. But I want more of the nice things that you and I enjoy. I want the comforts that you and I enjoy to also be available.
That we sacrificed for and we paid for and we earned. You want to just give that away to other people.
I want everybody to have the basics of a decent living. If you work, you are entitled, in my opinion, to the basics of a decent living.
And they can have that. Anybody who works can have that.
The American worker is paid oftentimes less than $10 an hour, yet the average American worker produces over $60 to $70 worth of productivity each hour. Mm-hmm. Really? So why is the American worker receiving less than 15%
because
of his labor?
They're not the ones who stepped out and took the risk to earn more. They're not the ones.
No, the employer isn't taking no risk.
Yes, they did. Somebody did at one
they're
point.
Not taking no risk.
No, they did.
You know what risk the employer is taking?
No. I'm not saying right now. I'm saying somebody did take the risk, sacrificed, built the business, and now they are the employers. They took that risk, and now they charge this. Yes.
I'm not going to let you get away with saying that.
Yes.
The risk is borne by the employee who, if the business closes, the employee is flat out unemployed. The worst thing that happens to the owner if the business fails is he has to become a worker. Oh, that's not a risk.
Yes, it is.
That's not a risk.
What business have you ever opened?
I've opened a few, actually.
And did you take risk to do it?
But you know what?
Did you take risk to do it?
No. Because when the business didn't work, you know what? I returned to being a worker.
Yeah. So what did you lose?
Nothing.
What, you didn't lose all the money that you poured into that business?
Well, of course I did.
So you took risk.
Okay, but
and that did not pay off.
And that's okay.
That's fine. But I'm saying
now
when
I'm a
you
worker,
take the and
that's okay.
Yeah. So when you take the risk and you're successful, you get it.
Okay.
You get the product of your success.
But
because you took the risk. You took the risk to build something that now gives somebody else money. They don't have a job if you don't take a risk.
But no,
you don't get to steal that away from the entrepreneurs.
They have a job as long as there's demand they're willing to meet. If they're willing to service demand, then that's the job. The job isn't created by a person taking a risk. It's not created by an entrepreneur.
Yes, it is.
Jobs are created by demand.
Jobs are created. There is no demand without the entrepreneur. There is no demand for workers without the entrepreneur.
Really? So if I go out and I eliminate all of the Fortune 500 CEOs out there, all the entrepreneurs have disappeared with a magic wave of my wand. I have sent them to permanent exile on a Bahama island.
No, I'm talking the owner of that restaurant over there is an entrepreneur.
Okay, so I'm going to wave my wand and I'm going to get rid of him too. They're all gone.
They're all gone.
If you're an entrepreneur, you're all gone.
Go get a job.
Do people still...
Go get a job.
Okay, easy. Do
Where?
people still want things?
Where do you go get a job?
Anywhere people want things.
Where do you go get a job? You just eliminated all the business owners and all the businesses are closed. Where do you get a job?
I go to my neighbor. If my neighbor wants something, if somebody wants
so
something,
you become an entrepreneur.
That's right.
Yep.
That's
there you go.
You see,
you build your own business. And now you're the business owner. And then suddenly, poof, you're gone because your magic wand killed business owners.
There is no reason why the workers themselves can't also be entrepreneurs.
Yeah, you can at any time. Start your business. Start your own business. Go.
And they can collectivize and they can own their own means of production and they can satisfy demand because it's demand that creates jobs, not individuals with fancy suits.
And when they make bad decisions, when you do that and you spread it across and we make bad decisions, now they all take a pay cut.
Yeah, there's a consequence.
Yeah.
And so as a collective,
but they are no longer workers. They are owners. They can be both. Somebody was an entrepreneur.
They can be both.
Yes, absolutely. But you can be both a worker and an entrepreneur. You cannot be a worker without an entrepreneur.
But we live in a society where you have people who produce no labor, who do no work. And
I don't care.
Get paid.
They were the entrepreneur. They had the idea.
85% of your hourly labor. They get that because they own something.
That's right. Because they made the sacrifice and they made good. They made the sacrifice and they made good decisions and they did that. And you can do the same thing too.
They were born to rich parents
who somebody earned at one point. Do not take that privilege away from my kids. Do not shun my kids for the privilege that 3 generations earned for them.
Scott,
do not do that.
You are not one of those people.
Doesn't matter. Somebody earned it for them. Somebody earned it for them. Do not ever take away privilege. You have more in common
with homeless people than you do billionaires.
I don't really care. The principle.
Why are you defending billionaires?
Because of principle.
Who defraud you and who are responsible for most of the taxes you have to pay. Corporate welfare. These people are taking
I don't want to treat someone the way I don't want to be treated.
Well,
I don't want to take away that opportunity and that privilege from my kids. I don't want my kids to be blamed. I don't want somebody to look at my kids going to a private school and look at them and say, yeah, you're just part of the problem. You're just one of those wealthy kids. You don't know, you're just privileged. I don't want people doing that to, I don't want to do that to my kids and I won't do that to other people's kids.
Well, I'm going to teach my child to advocate for equity in society. So that's what I'm going to do. regardless.
And as soon as I
anything
see
else.
you sell everything you have and give it away, I'll believe you.
You know, you and I are not the problem. The problem are the people at the very top who are hoovering up 85% of every hour of your labor and pocketing it, and then moving it offshore to avoid taxes, and then shifting their tax burden back onto you and
somebody
your
else's
little
fault.
15%.
It's all somebody else's fault. You're just a victim. You
And
can't do anything. There's nothing you can do.
And as long as we put the onus on the individual worker instead of the person who really does have the political power and who does have the offshore bank account, we will not fix our society.
As long as we keep blaming everybody else for your problems, you'll never fix yourself. And if you don't fix yourself, society will never be fixed. Fix yourself, make better decisions, and you'll fix society. You'll never fix society if you don't fix yourself. And you'll never fix yourself as long as you're blaming everybody else. You'll never fix yourself.
Well, I agree.
So
we have to do both.
Yourself.
We have to do both.
You have to do that one first. You have to fix yourself
simultaneous.
First. You have to fix yourself first.
Well, all right.
Yeah, so there you go. That's been a valid answer with Scott and Marshall. You can catch us on Sundays at 5 o'clock at a valid answer on Facebook, Kerncast on Facebook, kerncast.com. You can catch us on Mondays at 4 o'clock. And
That's okay.
Hey, I know this is great. No, I say that in a this is why we do this.
Okay.
This is fun.
We need to have that clash, and then our viewers can decide what they feel.
Yeah, I can't wait to see all the comments on this.
I hope we get a lot of
comments.
comments.
I'm sorry that we weren't able to see your comments live, but when this posts, we'll try to join in and do those. So butcher us, slam us, whatever you got to do. But until next time,
be merciless.
Yeah, until next time. This has been Scott
and Marshall,
and this has been a valid answer. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.